You're sitting across from her at dinner. The restaurant is nice, the food is good. And then it hits you. The same thing that hits you sometimes, maybe more often than you want to admit. That quiet, strange loneliness sitting right there between you, like a third person at the table. You're both physically here, but somewhere along the way you started feeling like strangers who just happened to share a bed. And the thought that runs through your head isn't dramatic. It's worse than dramatic. It's small. It sounds like, when was the last time I actually made her feel special? It sounds like, I used to do this effortlessly. What happened? It sounds like, is she still happy with me? And then comes the one that gets you every time. Am I just not that guy anymore? Here's what nobody tells you, man. That feeling isn't a warning sign that your love is dying. It's a signal that your connection is just sleeping. And it can wake up faster than you think. You're not failing at this. Every guy who's ever loved someone deeply has sat in that exact seat, having that exact conversation with himself in his own head. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to flip that script. Not by becoming someone you're not, but by showing up in ways that make her feel exactly what she needs to feel. Let's get into it. Mindset reframe. Most couples think making your girl feel special is about grand gestures, big dates, anniversaries, surprise parties, the stuff that looks good on Instagram. But here's what nobody explains. Your girlfriend isn't craving the spectacular. She's craving the consistent. See, from her nervous system's perspective, what registers as loved isn't the once-a-year trip to Paris. It's the 20 small moments scattered across an ordinary Tuesday where you turned toward her instead of away. Most guys in relationships get this completely backwards. They wait for something big, they plan something elaborate, and in between they default to silence, distraction, assumption that she's fine because she hasn't said otherwise. But here's the deeper truth, and this is where it gets really interesting. When a woman doesn't feel consistently seen by her partner, her brain doesn't think he's just busy. Her nervous system reads it as the safety is fading. Not consciously, not dramatically, but underneath everything, slowly, that quiet withdrawal starts building walls between you that neither of you can quite name. And what most men don't understand is that she doesn't need you to perform. She needs you to show up. In the small, unglamorous, ordinary moments that most guys walk right past without even noticing. This isn't a communication hack. This is what it looks like when someone has learned to love without losing the part of themselves that actually pays attention. Here are 19 ways to do exactly that. 1. Remember the small things she mentioned once. Most couples get stuck in a pattern where they only pay attention to the big stuff, the explicit requests, the direct conversations. But the things that actually make a woman feel special, the things that make her feel known, are usually the small, throwaway moments that most guys let slide right off them. Her nervous system is quietly registering everything. That book she mentioned 3 months ago, the coffee order she changed last week, the story about her friend that she told you on a Tuesday night. And here's what nobody tells you. When you remember those things and bring them back up later, her brain is quietly saying, he was actually listening. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing her that she lives in your head rent-free, not because she demanded it, but because you chose to pay attention. She feels it before you even say the words. 2. Send her a random, "I'm thinking about you" text. Most guys text their girlfriend when they need something, when they have a question, when they're heading home, when they're bored. But here's what most couples never figure out. The texts that create connection aren't the necessary ones. They're the unexpected ones. A random photo of something that reminded you of her. A saw this and thought of our first date kind of moment. A simple, you popped into my head and I wanted you to know. And here's the thing. It feels small. It is small. But that smallness is exactly why it hits so hard. Because it tells her nervous system something she needs to hear. I don't need a reason to think about you. You're just always there. That feeling? That's safety. That's what she's been quietly longing for without being able to name it. When you do that, she stops wondering if she's on your mind. She just knows she is. 3. Do something she loves that you wouldn't normally choose. Most people in relationships get comfortable. They create a shared repertoire of activities. And somewhere along the way, one person is always compromising more than the other. Here's the deeper emotional truth. When you do something she loves that you wouldn't naturally gravitate toward, a genre you wouldn't pick, a hike she's been wanting to do, a show she'd love to watch, you're not just doing an activity. You're telling her something about your priorities. Your nervous system is making a choice. You're saying, this matters to you, and that makes it matter to me. And when she sees that, really sees it, something in her softens. She feels chosen in a way that goes way beyond the activity itself. She feels like your person. And that's when your relationship stops feeling like a negotiation and starts feeling like a home. 4. Show up without her having to ask. Most couples fall into a rhythm where asking becomes the norm. Can you pick up the kids? Can you handle that email? Can you be home earlier tonight? And look, communication is good. Asking is healthy. But here's what most guys miss. The moments that make her feel truly loved aren't the moments when she successfully got what she asked for. They're the moments when you anticipated the need before it became a request. Her brain is quietly registering, he saw this before I had to say it. That's not about reading her mind. That's about paying close enough attention that her life lives in your head. Her schedule, her stress points, the things that make her week harder than it needs to be. When you act on that, without being asked, without needing credit, without needing to be told, thank you, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to say a word. 5. Physically touch her like it means something. And this is the part no one talks about enough. Most couples start hot and end cold in the physical department. Not because the passion faded, but because the intentionality faded. The touch becomes routine, mechanical, just a habit instead of a message. Here's what most guys don't understand. For a woman, physical touch isn't just physical. Her nervous system reads it as a direct line to emotional safety. A hand on her back when you're walking together, pulling her in close for no reason, touching her shoulder while she's talking, looking at her and just reaching for her. Not because you want something, not as a lead-in to something else, just because you want to be close to her. When you do that consistently, something in her shifts. She stops waiting for the next time you'll touch her and starts just feeling like she's already in your orbit. And that feeling? That's what turns a relationship that feels like roommates into one that feels like lovers again. 6. Tell her something you love about her, and mean it. Most couples stop complimenting each other somewhere around year 2. Not because the love went away, but because the noticing did. You used to see her everywhere, every detail, every move she made. And then familiarity did what familiarity does. It made you stop paying attention to the things that used to make you lose your breath. But here's the thing. Those things didn't go anywhere. They didn't change. Your awareness of them just got buried under routine. So bring them back. Tell her what you noticed today. Tell her something specific. Not, you look nice, but the way you talked to that waiter. I don't know. I just kept watching you and thinking about how much I love the person you are. Her brain is quietly registering, he sees me. Not the version of her that's performing, not the version of her that's being efficient, the actual person underneath all of it. And when that gets reflected back to her, something unlocks. She feels like she's not just being tolerated, she's being celebrated. 7. Give her your full attention, even when you don't feel like it. This one's hard, man. And that's exactly why it matters so much. Most guys are tired. Most guys have a lot on their plate. And when she starts talking about something that doesn't feel urgent, the pull to check out, to half listen, to look at your phone, to nod and wait for your turn to speak, that pull is real. But here's what changes everything. You don't have to feel like it to do it anyway. Because the truth is, she doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to be present. And presence is a choice you make with your body, not just your mind. Put the phone down, turn toward her, look her in the eyes, and actually listen. What she feels in that moment, the safety of being someone's priority, that's what she's been quietly longing for. And here's what most guys never figure out. It doesn't take a perfect response. It just takes the willingness to show up again and again, even when you're tired. That consistency? That's what builds trust. That's what makes her feel like she's not just sharing space with someone, she's sharing a life. 8. Defend her, even in the small moments. Most couples have this one wrong. They think defending your partner means jumping in during a big argument or backing her up in front of friends. But here's the part no one talks about. The smaller moments matter more than the big ones. When someone makes a subtle dig at her in conversation and you don't say anything, she notices. When her idea gets dismissed and you move on without comment, she notices. When a family member undermines her and you stay quiet, she notices. Her nervous system is reading every single one of those moments as signals. Where does he stand? Is he on my team? And when you defend her, not aggressively, not performatively, just calmly and clearly, you're not just protecting her in that moment. You're telling her something about the kind of relationship you want to have. You become the person who makes her feel like she has someone in her corner. Always. And that's the kind of safety that no amount of big romantic gestures can replace. 9. Make her laugh, especially on bad days. Most guys think romance is about being serious, being romantic, being intense. But here's the truth. The moments that build the deepest connection in a relationship aren't always the deep ones. Sometimes they're the light ones. The ones where you crack a joke at exactly the right moment and her whole face changes. When she's had a hard day and you're the one who makes her laugh, not to fix it, not to make it go away, just to give her 5 minutes of relief, your nervous system is doing something powerful. You're telling her, even when the world is heavy, I've got us. That feeling? That's what turns a bad day into a manageable one. That's what makes her think, on the drive home from a hard day, I can't wait to see him. Because laughter isn't just fun. For a woman who's been carrying stress all day, it's oxygen. And you, being the one who provides it, become irreplaceable. 10. Remember how she wants to be comforted. Most guys get this one completely wrong without realizing it. When she's upset, they try to fix. They offer solutions. They jump into problem-solving mode. Here's what you should do. Here's what I'd do. Let me help you figure this out. But here's the thing most men never figure out. She doesn't need you to fix the problem. She needs you to be with her inside the feeling. Her nervous system, when she's upset, needs to feel like her experience is valid before she can move through it. And that means listening first, validating first, just being there with her in the hard moment, without trying to rush her out of it. You don't have to agree that the thing is a big deal. You don't have to solve it. You just have to be present enough to let her feel what she feels without trying to take it away. When you learn how to do that, when you can sit with her in the discomfort without needing to make it go away, She stops feeling like she has to carry everything alone. And that's the shift that turns a partner who feels distant into one who feels like home. 11. Let her see the real you, not just the strong version. Most guys have a rule. Keep the messy parts hidden. Don't show weakness. Don't show fear. Don't show uncertainty. Be the strong one. Be the steady one. And look, there's nothing wrong with being strong. But here's what most men miss. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's actually the thing that creates the deepest intimacy. When you let her see the parts of you that aren't polished, when you admit you're struggling, when you tell her you're scared, when you share something you're actually insecure about, something powerful happens. Her brain is saying, "He's letting me in." And that inside access is what makes her feel like your relationship is different from every other relationship. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. You stop feeling like a performance of a boyfriend and start feeling like an actual human she's allowed to know. And that kind of closeness? It can't be manufactured. It can only be built, slowly, through small moments of trust. 12. Show interest in something she cares about. Here's a pattern most couples fall into. You have your things, she has her things, and there's this unspoken agreement that you don't really overlap. But here's the thing. Showing interest in the things she loves isn't about becoming a convert. It's about saying something about her. When you take genuine interest in her hobby, when you ask questions, when you remember details, when you actually try to understand why it matters to her, you're telling her something about how you see her. Her nervous system reads it as, "He thinks my world is worth knowing." It doesn't have to be forever. It doesn't have to become your thing, too. It just has to be real. It just has to show that you're willing to step into her world, not because you have to, but because you want to understand her better. That's what makes someone feel known. Not the grand gesture, but the steady, consistent choice to care about what she cares about. 13. Give her a hard no day. Most couples have a constant, low-level negotiation going. Plans, commitments, obligations, social calendar. And somewhere in there, one person is almost always the one adapting, adjusting, going along. Here's what most guys don't realize. She needs to know that sometimes you'll just say no for her. Not because you have to, not because she asked, but because you noticed she needed it. A day where neither of you does anything. A weekend where the schedule is completely clear. Permission to do nothing and call it enough. Her nervous system reads that kind of space as safety, as freedom, as the message, "You don't have to earn your rest around here." When you give her that, when you create that kind of room in your life, she stops feeling like she's in a constant state of performance. And that softness? That's where intimacy actually lives. 14. Write her something. Yes, actually write it. Here's a truth nobody explains. In a world where everything is texted, a handwritten note is almost shockingly intimate. You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to be poetic. You just have to be honest. Tell her something you're grateful for. Tell her something about her that you love. Tell her something you never say out loud but think all the time. When she finds it, or when you give it to her, something in her shifts. Her brain is saying, "He took time to put this into words." That kind of intentionality? It hits differently than a spontaneous text. It's deliberate. It's physical. It's proof that you were thinking about her when you weren't even with her. And in a relationship, those little pieces of evidence that you were thinking about her, they compound. Slowly, they build a foundation of trust that makes everything else feel more secure. 15. Give her a memory, not just a gift. Most guys think about presents, birthdays, anniversaries. What can I buy her? But here's the reframe. The things women remember most aren't the gifts. They're the moments. A random Tuesday afternoon where you planned nothing and just went somewhere together. A sunset you stopped to watch because she mentioned wanting to see one. A conversation that went somewhere deep because you had nowhere else to be. Give her something to remember, not something to unwrap, something to keep. Her nervous system holds those moments differently than objects. Memories get woven into how she sees your relationship. They become part of the story she tells about you, about the two of you, about what you have together. When you give her good memories on random days, not because there's a reason to, just because you wanted to, you become the kind of partner she looks back on and thinks, I married the right person. 16. Show up when she's being hard to love. And here's where it gets really interesting. Every woman, every person has hard days. Days where they're not easy to be around. Days where they're snappy, closed off, difficult. Days where something is bothering them and they can't even explain what it is, so they just push everyone away. Most guys pull back in those moments. They give space. They wait it out. But here's what changes everything. The moments when she feels most unlikable are the moments when she needs you closest. Not to fix her, not to get her to open up, not to push past her walls, just to be there, steady, warm, not taking it personally. When you do that, when you stay close even when she's pushing, her nervous system registers, he's not going anywhere. And that message? That's the most powerful thing you can give her, because it tells her that the relationship is safe enough to have hard days inside of, that she doesn't have to be perfect to be kept. That's what real intimacy looks like, not the easy days, the hard ones. 17. Brag about her when she's not there. Here's a pattern most couples never tap into. The things you say about your girlfriend when she's not in the room. What do you tell your friends, your family, your coworkers? Because those stories, those casual passing mentions, they add up, and eventually something gets back to her. A friend mentions something you said. A family member comments on how you talked about her. And here's what happens in her nervous system when that happens. He talks about me when I'm not even here. That's not small, that's huge. It tells her something about how she lives in your world. It tells her that when she's not around, she's still on your mind, still important, still worth talking about. Start talking about her like she's the best thing that ever happened to you. Not because you're performing, but because that's actually how you see her. When you do that, the narrative of your relationship starts shifting, for her, for you, and for everyone around you. 18. Ask her the questions no one else asks. Here's the part most couples miss entirely. You know a lot about your girlfriend, the basics, the surface stuff, the things you've been told. But what do you actually know about what she's processing, what she's afraid of, what she dreams about at 2 a.m. when the world is quiet and her mind won't stop? Most guys don't ask those questions. They're too deep, too personal, too vulnerable. But here's the thing. Those are the questions that create real intimacy. When you sit down and ask her something real, something she's not used to being asked, you tell her something without saying a word. You tell her that you're not just interested in the surface version of her. You want the whole thing, the complicated, messy, buried parts too. And when she answers, when she actually tells you something true about herself, your job is simple. Just listen. Just take it in. Just let her be seen. That's the moment your relationship stops feeling like a partnership of convenience and starts feeling like a place where both of you can actually be known. 19. Tell her what your future together looks like. And here's the one most couples never figure out. Not the logistics, not the plan, not the timeline, just the feeling. What do you want your life with her to look like in 5 years? What do you imagine when you picture the two of you, older, together, having built something? Tell her that. Not as a promise, not as a commitment, just as a vision. Because for a woman, hearing what you actually want with her, what you're picturing, what you're hoping for, where you see the two of you going, that tells her something that no amount of daily affection can replace. It tells her, this is real. This is permanent. This is the person I'm building a life with. Her nervous system reads that kind of future-forward energy as the deepest form of commitment. And that safety? That's what makes everything else possible. When you can paint that picture, when you can tell her what you actually see, she stops needing reassurance and starts just feeling it. Paragraph 7. The close. Here's the truth, man. None of this is complicated. It's not about having the right words or the perfect timing or becoming someone you're not. It's about showing up, consistently, intentionally, in the 1,000 small moments that make up an ordinary week, and choosing to be present for the person you chose. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to become the kind of partner who doesn't just love in the big moments, but stays present in the ones that nobody else sees. And when you do that, when you internalize this not as a technique, but as a way of being, your relationship stops being something you have to work at and starts being something you get to live in. Here's your mic drop, right here at the end. The woman you love doesn't need you to be perfect. She just needs you to keep choosing her in the small, quiet, ordinary moments where most people stop paying attention.